All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive today. We're going into some pretty thought-provoking territory with the work of E.J. Gold. He's got this unique spiritual perspective on DNA and consciousness, and we're going to explore it.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be looking at how Gold's ideas, they might challenge some conventional thinking about DNA and maybe even offer like a fresh perspective on self-development.
Yeah, we're talking about the idea of DNA as something that you can almost reprogram, like computer code.
Mm.
And we'll also be looking at how all of that ties into the concept of reincarnation. Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Gold's book, Shakti, The Spiritual Science of DNA, it really flips the script on how we usually think about DNA. He argues that DNA is not just this blueprint for our physical traits, but a programmable code that shapes our entire reality.
So not just like our eye color or height,
Right.
but like our actual experiences and awareness.
Exactly. Gold suggests that DNA actually influences our consciousness and even carries memories and experiences from past lives. He calls this the genetic code module package, or GCMP. So just imagine like carrying a record of your past lives within your very being.
Oh, okay. So it's like our DNA is carrying this like history, this baggage from who knows how many past lives. And that's somehow affecting our reality right now. That's a lot to unpack.
It is. And Gold goes even further and suggests that we can consciously reprogram this DNA code. He believes we can change our karmic patterns and life experiences through specific practices and self-awareness.
Okay, now that's where it gets really interesting. What kind of practices are we talking about?
Well, one of the key elements that Gold highlights are what he calls moving meditations. These involve specific movements and breath work, and they're designed to release like these really deep-seated anxieties and tensions. He believes that these tensions actually block our spiritual awareness.
It makes me think about how we hold stress in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Could releasing that physical tension actually unlock something deeper within us?
That's exactly what Gold proposes. These movements are designed to free us from those muscle-bound anxieties, which then allows for greater spiritual awareness to emerge.
Interesting. So it's not just about sitting quietly and meditating, but actually like actively using our bodies to break free from these limitations.
Exactly. And there's a really specific focus on breath work and postures in these movements. Gold even connects these movements to the release of stored memories and images. It's almost like shaking loose these old patterns and experiences.
Wow, that's fascinating. And he ties this into something called the Bardos, right? I've heard that term before, but I'm not quite sure what it means.
Right. So the Bardos are essentially these transitional states of consciousness. You might experience them during life, or in deep meditation, or even near-death experiences. Gold uses these heightened states to access and reprogram the DNA, bringing individuals closer to their true spiritual nature.
So it's like using those moments of heightened awareness to kind of rewrite the code, to shift the trajectory of your life.
Precisely. But Gold emphasizes the importance of maintaining like really focused attention during these states. Otherwise, he says, we risk being pulled back into the pull of the material world and missing the opportunity for transformation.
It's like we need to be really present and intentional during those moments, not letting our minds get distracted by all the usual noise and clutter.
That's a great way to put it. Now, to explain this interplay of consciousness and awareness, Gold uses a rather interesting metaphor, the game of S&P.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does a game of S&P relate to all of this?
Well, think of it this way. We snap into different realities and identities
Mm-hmm.
based on our DNA programming and choices. He describes these things called optimum codes within our DNA that have the potential to break us free from these limiting patterns.
These optimum codes are like keys to unlocking a better version of ourselves.
Yeah.
A way to escape the default settings of our DNA programming.
That's a great analogy. It's about consciously choosing which reality we want to experience, rather than just being, passively pulled along by our past programming.
But there's an ethical component to this game, right? Like, we can't force our version of winning on other people.
Exactly. Gold emphasizes that we can only change our own piece in this game. It's about personal responsibility, recognizing that everyone is on their own unique path.
So we can't go around trying to fix other people or force them to wake up. They have to choose their own journey, just like we choose ours.
Precisely. Gold believes that until we connect with our spiritual nature, we're driven primarily by, these animalistic survival instincts.
Yeah, it's like that fight or flight mode takes over.
Yeah.
And everything becomes about self-preservation, sometimes even at the expense of others.
Exactly. But he describes a significant shift when someone touches spirit. They move away from fear and anger, from that desperate need to survive at any cost.
It's like moving beyond just surviving and into a state of truly thriving, driven by something greater than our basic needs.
That's a good way to put it. And that's where Gold introduces the concept of the way of service. He believes that helping others and contributing to humanity's well-being can actually accelerate our own spiritual growth.
So moving away from that self-centered survival mode
Right.
and embracing a more selfless way of being.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and acting from a place of compassion and service.
That's a beautiful idea, but also a bit daunting when you look at the state of the world.
Yeah.
Gold actually talks about a coming dark ages, right? What does he mean by that?
He foresees a time of declining spiritual awareness, a kind of collective forgetfulness. He emphasizes the importance of preserving and sharing spiritual teachings and practices to help us navigate these, potentially challenging times.
So it's a call to action, a reminder that we have a responsibility to keep those ancient wisdoms alive, to be a source of light in the midst of potential darkness.
Precisely. And that's where Gold's work really gets us thinking, doesn't it? It's a unique perspective that challenges us to consider the profound potential within our own DNA.
It definitely makes you wonder if we can actually reprogram our DNA. What's possible, and how can we use this understanding to create a better future for ourselves and for humanity?
Those are some big questions to ponder.
They are, but before we get too deep into that, let's take a closer look at this game of SNP that Gold keeps mentioning. It seems like a really important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, this game of SNP, it's more than just a catchy name. It's really a powerful metaphor for how we experience reality and how our choices can shape that experience.
Okay, so remind me again, how does this game work? We're talking about DNA programming and different realities, but I'm still a little fuzzy on the details.
Okay, well, think of it this way. Our awareness is like a playing piece on a cosmic game board. And our DNA, with all of its encoded memories and patterns, acts like a magnet. And it pulls us toward certain experiences and identities.
Oh, okay. So it's like our DNA has like a preset setting that influences which reality we're drawn to.
Exactly. And as we move through life, we snap into these different realities based on our DNA programming and the choices that we make. Sometimes we might feel stuck in a particular reality, repeating the same patterns over and over again.
Yeah, like being drawn to the same kinds of relationships or struggling with the same fears, even though we know it's not serving us.
That's a great example. And that's where those optimum codes that we mentioned come in.
Right, the cheat codes for life. So how do we activate these codes and change the game?
Well, Gold says that it's about becoming conscious of our DNA's influence, recognizing the patterns that are no longer serving us, and then making a conscious effort to change them. It's not about waiting for things to change magically, but actively engaging in our own evolution.
So instead of being a victim of our programming, we can become the programmer.
Precisely. Now, here's a really crucial part. You can't move other people's pieces in the game of SNP.
Ah, okay. So no forcing someone to wake up or interfering with their journey. Everyone has to figure things out for themselves.
Exactly. Gold is very clear about respecting free will. Everyone is responsible for their own choices and the reality that they create.
It makes you think about those times when we try to control other people or push our beliefs onto them. Maybe we need to step back and let them play their own game.
That's a wise insight. Gold actually sees this game as inherently ethical. It's designed to benefit all players, not just a select few.
So it's not a competition where someone wins and someone loses. It's more like a collaborative journey toward greater awareness.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And that journey begins with recognizing that we're not just the costumes that we wear in the game of SNAP. We're not just our job titles or our relationship status or even our personality.
We're the players behind those roles, the consciousness that animates them.
Exactly. And when we tap into that deeper awareness, we can start playing the game more consciously, making choices from a place of empowerment rather than just reacting from old patterns.
That makes sense. It makes me think about Gold's idea that we all have, like an animal nature and a spiritual nature. He seems to suggest that until we connect with our spiritual side, we're primarily driven by survival instincts.
That's a key point. Gold believes that until we touch spirit, our actions are largely driven by fear and the need for self-preservation, often at the expense of others or even ourselves.
Yeah, it's that me-first mentality, constantly battling for resources and validation and control.
Precisely. But when someone connects with their spiritual nature, there's this really profound shift. Their motives change, and they move away from that desperate need to survive at any cost.
It's like they've tapped into this source of inner abundance that no longer needs to fight for survival.
Exactly. There's this shift towards service, compassion, and a recognition that we're all interconnected. Gold sees this as essential for true spiritual growth. It's about transcending those primal fears and recognizing the inherent unity of all things.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it? Moving from separation to unity, from fear to love. But how do we actually make that shift? How do we touch spirit, as Gold puts it?
He emphasizes the importance of the way of service, the idea that contributing to the well-being of humanity can actually accelerate our own spiritual growth.
So it's not about isolating ourselves and meditating in a cave. It's about actively engaging with the world and using our gift to make a positive difference.
That's the essence of it. It's about aligning our actions with our highest purpose and realizing that true power lies in unity, not separation.
It's a beautiful idea, but it also makes me think about, the challenges that we face in the world today. Gold even predicts a coming dark ages, a time of spiritual decline.
Yes, that's a somewhat sobering aspect of Gold's teachings. He foresees a period marked by forgetfulness, a loss of spiritual connection, and a descent into material pursuits.
It's like we're collectively losing sight of what truly matters, getting lost in the illusion of separation and chasing fleeting desires.
And during these times, Gold stresses the importance of preserving and sharing spiritual teachings and practices. It's about keeping that flame of wisdom burning bright so that it can guide us through the darkness.
It's almost like a call to action for those who are awakening. We have a responsibility to hold the light, to be beacons of hope, inspiration for others who are still searching for their way.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not alone on this journey. We have the collective power to shift the trajectory of humanity towards a more awakened future.
It's a powerful message, but it also feels like a bit overwhelming. If we're all caught up in this game of SMAP, how can we possibly make a difference on a larger scale? It feels like a huge responsibility, almost like we're being asked to, step into the role of spiritual warriors fighting against this encroaching darkness.
Yeah, that's a powerful image, but Gold doesn't suggest that we have to, become superheroes or single-handedly save the world. He really emphasizes personal responsibility, cultivating our own inner light and then extending that outwards.
So it's more about focusing on our own spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And then letting those positive changes kind of ripple outwards.
Exactly. It starts with simple things like those moving meditations that we discussed earlier. Gold really believed that finding stillness in our own lives allows that inner peace to radiate outwards and creates a positive impact on those around us.
So cultivating inner peace is almost like a form of activism in itself.
You could say that. Gold also talks about creating these spaces of stillness and quiet in our lives. He specifically mentions ashrams. These are spiritual retreat centers that are designed to foster inner peace and spiritual growth.
So it's about finding those places, whether physical or metaphorical, where we can connect with that deeper awareness, recharge, and then come back to the world with a renewed sense of purpose.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And remember, Gold believed that these teachings are accessible to everyone, not just those who are already deeply spiritual.
Right. So it's not about being a guru or having some special lineage. It's about the willingness to just embark on the journey of self-discovery and connect with that inner wisdom.
Exactly. It's a journey that can be challenging, though. Gold acknowledges that we might encounter some resistance, both within ourselves and from the world around us. He even says that us humans are prone to, laziness, and might actually resist the effort that's required for true transformation.
Yeah, I can relate to that. It's easy to get stuck in those comfortable patterns, even when we know they're not serving us. It takes a real commitment to, break free and embrace something new.
It does, but Gold assures us that it's worth the effort. The rewards of spiritual awakening far outweigh the challenges.
So it's about discovering that true freedom comes from aligning with our spiritual nature, tapping into that source of wisdom and love that resides within us all.
Yeah, and Gold really stresses the importance of direct experience, going beyond intellectual understanding, and truly embodying these teachings in our lives. He even points to simple practices like prayer and gratitude as ways to open ourselves to that spiritual connection.
So it's not about blindly following dogma or memorizing scriptures. It's about cultivating a genuine, heartfelt connection with the divine, however we choose to define it.
Exactly. And he encourages us to approach this journey with humility. recognizing that we don't have all the answers. There's always more to learn and discover.
Right, and he downplays the importance of like gurus or spiritual authorities,
Yeah.
emphasizing that true guidance comes from within, right?
That's right. It's about trusting our intuition, that inner wisdom that guides us towards our highest path, and remembering that we're not alone in this journey. We're all interconnected, part of a vast web of consciousness that's constantly evolving.
That's a powerful reminder, especially when we're feeling lost or overwhelmed. We're all in this together.
We are. And we have the power to shape our own reality and contribute to the awakening of humanity as a whole.
Well, there you have it. A deep dive into E.J. Gould's fascinating and often mind-bending perspective on DNA and consciousness and spiritual growth.
Yeah, we really hope that this exploration has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to explore your own journey of awakening.
Remember, you have the power to shape your reality. Embrace the game of SNAC and play it consciously and let your light shine bright.
Thanks for joining us in this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep expanding your awareness.